The giant ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They were made of something that looked like crystal but moved like metal, stretching across the horizon like floating mountains. People stopped what they were doing and stared up at the impossible sight. Cars crashed as drivers forgot to watch the road. Children pointed from school playgrounds while teachers herded them inside. President Kim Dae sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the Capitol building. The room buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders appeared on screens around the table. Everyone was talking at once until the lights dimmed and something shimmered in the center of the room. The alien that appeared was tall and thin, almost see-through like colored glass. It had too many arms and eyes that glowed with their own light. When it spoke, the words came from machines placed around the room, turning alien sounds into human language. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Consortium," the creature said. Its voice was cold and empty of feeling. "Your species has been evaluated. You are primitive but useful." General Park Min-ho leaned forward in his chair. He had fought in 3 wars and never backed down from anyone. But something about this alien made his skin crawl. "What do you want?" The alien's eyes turned toward him like spotlights. "Your surrender. All military weapons will be destroyed. Your governments will dissolve. Earth will provide 60% of its resources to the consortium every year. In return, we will not eliminate your species." Dr. Lee Hana sat quietly at the far end of the table. She was a small woman with gray hair who looked like someone's grandmother, but her mind held secrets that could change everything. She watched the alien carefully and said nothing. "And if we refuse?" President Kim asked. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Observe." The room's main screen showed a view of space. One of Earth's old satellites drifted peacefully in orbit, a piece of metal and electronics that had served its purpose years ago. A thin beam of light reached out from one of the crystal ships. The satellite simply disappeared, not exploding or burning, just gone as if it had never existed. "Your nuclear weapons cannot penetrate our shields," Veltar continued. "Your fastest aircraft move like insects to us. Your most advanced technology is children's toys. Resistance is not just futile, it is laughable." The alien waved one of its many arms and the air above the table shimmered. Suddenly everyone could see through the ceiling, through the building, through the Earth itself to the ships floating in space. The shields around each vessel glowed like soap bubbles, beautiful and deadly. "We have given this same choice to 47 worlds," the alien said. 38 chose wisdom and surrendered immediately. 9 chose foolishness and no longer exist. Which will Earth choose? President Kim stood up slowly. He was not a tall man, but something in the way he moved made everyone in the room pay attention. General Park had seen that look before, usually right before Kim did something that surprised everyone. "You have 72 hours to leave our solar system," Kim said in a clear, steady voice. "This is your only warning." The room went completely silent. Even the humming of the air conditioning seemed to stop. The alien's glowing eyes focused on Kim like laser beams. "Did this primitive creature just threaten us?" Veltar asked, and now there was amusement in the mechanical voice. "You possess no faster-than-light travel. Your weapons are chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Your most advanced spacecraft barely reach your own moon. What possible threat could you pose to the consortium?" General Park started to speak, but Kim held up one hand to stop him. Dr. Lee Hana smiled for the first time since the meeting began, a small, secret smile that no one else noticed. 72 hours, Kim repeated. The alien's form pulsed with colors that hurt to look at directly. "Your bluff is noted and dismissed. In 73 hours, this world will belong to the consortium. Your people will serve, or they will be replaced by those who will." The ambassador vanished like smoke, leaving only the smell of ozone and the sound of frightened breathing. "Sir," General Park said carefully, "with all respect, what exactly are we going to do in 72 hours that we cannot do right now? They just made our best satellite disappear with one shot." President Kim looked around the table at the faces of Earth's most powerful leaders. Some looked scared, others angry, but all of them looked to him for answers. "Dr. Lee, Kim said quietly. Is it ready? The small woman with gray hair nodded once. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years, Mr. President. Operation Darkfall is ready. What is Operation Darkfall? Demanded the Prime Minister of Europa, her voice coming through the speakers with a slight delay. Dr. Lee stood up and walked to the center of the room where the alien had appeared. Something that will remind the galaxy why they should never underestimate humanity. Outside, the crystal ships waited in the darkness of space, confident in their power and certain of their victory. They had no idea that far beneath their feet, ancient machinery was beginning to wake up. 50 years ago, Dr. Choi Jin was just a young scientist with dirty hands and big dreams. He had been working in the deepest mine on Earth looking for rare metals when his drill hit something that should not have existed. The metal was not like anything he had ever seen. It was perfectly smooth and covered in patterns that hurt his eyes when he looked at them too long. The shapes seemed to move and change, forming pictures of stars and planets and things that had no names. Jin called his friend Dr. Park Sung, a physicist who specialized in gravity. When Park saw the metal, his face went white. This is not natural, he whispered. Someone made this. Someone with technology we cannot even imagine. They dug deeper, working in secret. What they found beneath the Earth changed everything they thought they knew about their planet. Vast chambers stretched out in perfect geometric patterns, filled with machinery that hummed with quiet power, even after sitting silent for millions of years. We are not the first intelligent species on Earth, Jin told Park as they stood in the largest chamber, 3 kilometers below the surface. Someone else was here long before humans even existed. The two men spent months exploring the underground complex. The machines were damaged by time, but some still worked. When Jin accidentally touched one of the control panels, the entire chamber lit up with soft blue light. Gravity itself seemed to bend around certain devices, making their tools float in impossible patterns. They realized they had found something that could change the course of human history. But they also knew that the world was not ready for such knowledge. Wars were being fought over oil and land. What would happen if people learned about technology that could control the basic forces of reality? So they formed a secret organization. Jin and Park recruited the smartest people they could find from every country. Scientists, engineers, physicists, and mathematicians who could keep secrets and think beyond what was supposed to be possible. Dr. Lee Hana was one of the first to join. She was only 25 then, but she understood the alien mathematics better than anyone else. The machines work by changing the shape of space itself, she explained to the group during their first meeting in an abandoned subway tunnel. They do not fight gravity. They tell gravity what to do. The project took decades. Working in secret meant they could only move slowly and carefully. They built facilities in the deepest parts of the ocean and inside mountains that no one ever visited. Every piece had to be manufactured separately and moved without attracting attention. Captain Oh Jun joined the project 15 years ago when he was still flying commercial aircraft. He had always been the best pilot anyone knew, able to feel what an airplane wanted to do before the instruments told him. When Dr. Lee showed him how the gravity controls worked, he understood immediately. It is like flying, he told her after his first test flight in a prototype vehicle that could ignore gravity. But instead of pushing against the air, you are dancing with space itself. The hardest part was keeping the secret. Families were told that their loved ones worked for mining companies or research stations in Antarctica. Government officials who asked too many questions were quietly transferred to other departments. When satellite images showed unusual activity at their sites, they used technology borrowed from the ancient machines to bend light around their facilities. Dr. Nam Sora was in charge of the power systems. She had spent 10 years figuring out how to channel the Earth's own rotation into energy that could run the alien machinery. The original builders understood something we are only beginning to learn, she said while adjusting a device that glowed like a small star. Everything is connected. The spin of a planet, the pull of gravity, the structure of space itself. It is all one system. The breakthrough came 5 years ago when they finally understood how to create controlled tiers in space-time. Not big enough to destroy anything, but large enough to hide things or move them in ways that seemed impossible. We tested it on a small island in the Pacific, Dr. Lee explained to the newest members of the project. For 30 minutes, the island simply did not exist in normal space. Satellites could not see it. Ships sailed right through where it should have been. But the people living there experienced nothing unusual. They called it Operation Darkfall because it could make light itself forget how to reach a target. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that barely understood fire. They had no idea that humans had learned to weaponize the fundamental forces that held the universe together. When the crystal ships appeared in Earth's sky, Dr. Lee was ready. 50 years of preparation had led to this moment. The gravitational manipulation array was complete, hidden in facilities scattered across the globe and connected by quantum entanglement systems that worked instantly across any distance. The aliens are looking for technology like their own, she told Captain O as they prepared for what was coming. Energy weapons, force fields, faster than light engines. They cannot imagine that we found a completely different path. In 72 hours, they would show the Galactic Consortium that sometimes the most primitive species could be the most dangerous. Sometimes the best weapon was not the one that could destroy your enemy, but the one they never saw coming. The ray. Ancient machines hummed quietly in their hidden chambers, waiting to change the fate of two worlds. Admiral Korth floated in the command center of his flagship, watching Earth turn slowly beneath him. The planet looked so small and helpless from orbit, covered in swirling white clouds and blue oceans. Hard to believe such a primitive world had dared to threaten the mighty consortium. 71 hours and 30 minutes remaining, reported his second-in-command, Navigator Keth. The alien's crystalline form pulsed with different colors as he spoke. The humans continue their pathetic attempts at communication. Their leaders are begging each other for solutions that do not exist. Korth's six eyes studied the tactical display. 37 warships surrounded Earth in perfect formation, each one capable of turning continents into glass. The humans had nothing that could even scratch their shields. This would be the easiest conquest in consortium history. Have you intercepted any useful information from their communications? Korth asked. Panic, mostly, Keth replied. Their military leaders are arguing about nuclear weapons. Some want to launch everything they have at us. Others understand it would be useless. There is talk of evacuation, but they have nowhere to go. On Earth's surface, President Kim Dae stood in his office looking up at the alien ships through bulletproof windows. The crystal vessels hung in the sky like deadly jewelry, beautiful and terrifying. People had gathered in the streets below, some praying, others just staring upward in shock. General Park Min-ho entered the room carrying a secure phone. Sir, the Chinese premier is asking about our plan. The European Council wants to know if we should surrender now to save lives. Everyone is waiting for your orders. Kim did not take his eyes off the ships above. Tell them to be ready. In 1 hour, the world will see something it has never seen before. 3 kilometers below the Korean peninsula, Dr. Lee Hana walked through the primary control chamber of Operation Darkfall. The room was the size of a football stadium, filled with machines that hummed with barely contained power. Screens showed energy readings from similar facilities hidden around the globe. All stations report ready, announced Dr. Nam So-ra from her position at the main console. Australia facility is at full power. Atlantic Deep Station is online. Arctic Array is standing by. We have perfect synchronization across all sites. Captain Oh-jun checked his flight suit one more time. He would be piloting the first test vehicle through whatever happened next. The small spacecraft looked like nothing special from the outside, but it was wrapped in gravitational field generators that would let it move through space like a fish through water. Remember, Dr. Lee told her team, we are not trying to destroy them. We are showing them that their understanding of reality is incomplete. Make them question everything they think they know about physics. High above, Admiral Korth noticed the first anomaly. Navigator, are you detecting gravitational fluctuations from the planet? Keth checked his instruments twice before answering. Yes, sir. Very small variations, probably natural phenomena. Tidal forces from their moon, perhaps, or volcanic activity. But the fluctuations grew stronger. What started as tiny ripples in space-time became waves, then tsunamis of gravitational force that made the alien sensors scream warnings. The consortium ships, designed to travel between stars, had never encountered anything like it. On every television and computer screen on Earth, President Kim appeared. He looked tired but determined, like a man who had made a decision he could never take back. "My fellow humans," he said in a voice that carried to every corner of the planet. "For 50 years we have prepared for this day, not with weapons of war, but with understanding of forces that govern the universe itself. Today we show the galaxy that Earth bows to no one." Dr. Lee placed her hand on the activation control. Around the world, her colleagues did the same at their hidden facilities. "On my mark," she said into her headset. 3, 2, 1. Execute Operation Darkfall. The effect started small. Space around Earth began to bend, just slightly at first. Light took a little longer to travel from the planet to the alien ships. Radio signals developed odd delays. The consortium sensors registered the changes but could not explain them. Then the bending accelerated. Reality twisted like heated glass as humanity's gravitational array reached full power. The ancient alien machinery, sleeping for millions of years, awakened completely for the first time since its builders had vanished. Admiral Korth watched his tactical display in growing horror as the readings made no sense. "What is happening down there?" "Admiral," Keth's voice cracked with panic. "The planet is disappearing." The sky above Earth turned black as humanity tore a controlled hole in space-time itself. Not a destructive rift that would swallow worlds, but a careful fold that bent light around their planet like water around a stone. To anyone watching from space, Earth simply vanished. But inside the gravitational lens, everything continued normally. People looked up and saw their familiar sky. The sun still shone, the moon still pulled the tides. Earth had stepped sideways, out of normal space while remaining perfectly habitable. The consortium fleet found themselves trapped in a bubble of twisted physics, where their engines would not work, and their weapons could not lock onto targets that existed, but could not be seen. Admiral Korth had conquered 47 worlds, but he had never faced an enemy that could make reality itself into a weapon. In her deep underground bunker, Dr. Lee smiled as Captain O launched the first human counterattack through impossible space. Captain O-jun felt his stomach drop as his spacecraft launched into the twisted space around Earth. The gravitational field generators hummed around him, creating a bubble where up and down still made sense. Outside his cockpit window, space itself looked wrong. Stars bent into spirals, and the alien ships appeared to stretch and compress like rubber toys. "Control, this is Hunter 1, he spoke into his radio. "I am entering the combat zone. The physics here are incredible. It feels like flying through liquid starlight." 3 kilometers below ground, Dr. Lee Hana watched O's progress on her screens. The pilot's spacecraft moved through the gravitational distortions like it belonged there, while the consortium ships struggled just to maintain their position. "Target, the closest destroyer," she told O through the radio. "We need to show them this is not just a defensive trick." Admiral Korth gripped the command rail of his flagship as another gravitational wave rolled through his fleet. 2 of his smaller ships had already been crushed when they flew into a gravity well that appeared from nowhere. His weapons officer could not get a target lock on anything, because space kept bending the targeting beams in impossible directions. "Sir, one of the human craft is approaching our port flank," Navigator Keth reported, his voice tight with fear. "Our main guns cannot track it. The targeting computer says it is in 17 different places at once." Korth watched the small human ship dance between his vessels like a bird flying through a storm. Every time his gunners tried to shoot it, their energy beams curved away or simply disappeared into folded space. The human pilot seemed to know exactly where each gravity well would appear before it formed. Captain O rolled his ship through a twist in spacetime that would have torn apart any normal vehicle. The gravitational fields around his craft let him surf the very forces that were trapping the alien fleet. He locked onto the destroyer's engine section and fired his weapons. The human missiles were not special by themselves, just conventional explosives with guidance systems, but they traveled through the gravitational maze straight to their target, while the alien ship could not move to avoid them. The destroyer's engines exploded in brilliant flashes, leaving the vessel drifting helplessly. One target disabled. O reported. Moving to next objective. From her control room, Dr. Nam So-ra watched the power readings from facilities around the world. Dr. Lee, we are using 60% of our total capacity just to maintain the spatial distortion. If we increase the effect much more, we risk damaging the equipment. Understood, Lee replied. But we need to make them afraid. Fear is something they have never felt in battle before. She activated the secondary array, and space around the consortium fleet began to compress. 3 alien cruisers found themselves squeezed together in a bubble of hyper-compressed spacetime. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not protect them from gravity itself. The ships crumpled like aluminum cans. Admiral Korth felt his vessel shake as gravitational forces stronger than a black hole's edge washed over his fleet. Engineering. Emergency power to structural integrity fields. Sir, the fields are failing, came the panicked reply. These forces are beyond anything in our experience. The Admiral had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had destroyed planets and conquered entire star systems. But this was different. The humans were not just fighting with superior technology. They were changing the rules of reality itself. Another human pilot, Commander Yoon Min-sik, joined the battle in his own gravitational-shielded craft. Together, he and O moved through the chaos like sharks through bloody water. The alien ships trapped in pockets of twisted space could barely turn to face them. Control, this is Hunter 2, Yoon reported. I count 15 enemy vessels still, combat capable, but none of them can maneuver effectively. They are sitting targets. Dr. Lee felt a moment of something like sympathy for the aliens. They had come expecting an easy conquest and found themselves facing forces they could not understand or counter. But sympathy would not protect Earth if they showed mercy too soon. She created a focused gravitational lens that grabbed the consortium flagship and flung it halfway across the solar system in 3 seconds. Admiral Korth's ship tumbled through space, its crew unconscious from acceleration forces that should have killed them, but somehow left them merely stunned. When Korth regained consciousness, his ship was drifting near Mars. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed, or scattered. The remaining vessels hung in space around Earth like broken toys, their crews too afraid to move closer to the planet that had just demonstrated mastery over fundamental forces. Status report, he whispered, his voice weak from shock. 17. Ships destroyed. 12 disabled, 8 scattered across the system. Keth replied. Sir, our fastest-than-light communications are being blocked by gravitational interference. We cannot call for reinforcements. Korth stared at Earth, which flickered in and out of normal space like a ghost. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had made it irrelevant. All the advanced technology of the consortium meant nothing when the enemy could simply step outside the normal rules of physics. Sir, his communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. President Kim's voice filled the command center, calm and steady. Admiral Korth, your ships are defeated, but your crews live. You have one chance to withdraw from our system with honor. Choose wisely. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Korth considered surrender. Admiral Korth's hands shook as he reached for the communication controls. Around him, his command center was filled with the sounds of damaged systems and frightened crew members. Through the main view screen, Earth flickered like a dying star, appearing and disappearing as the humans controlled their gravitational lens. Open a channel to the human leadership, he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. Navigator Keith looked at his superior with surprise. In 30 years of service, he had never heard the Admiral speak with defeat in his voice. Sir, the Consortium High Command will view any surrender as treason. The Consortium High Command did not face weapons that can fold space itself. Korth replied. Open the channel. President Kim's image appeared on the screen, transmitted through the gravitational distortions from deep beneath Earth's surface. He looked tired but alert, like a man who had just finished the hardest job of his life. Admiral, Kim said simply, are you ready to discuss terms? What terms can there be? Korth asked. You have demonstrated power beyond our understanding. Our weapons are useless, our ships are trapped, we are at your mercy. Kim nodded slowly. We want only one thing, Admiral. For your people to leave our system and never return with hostile intent. We did not ask for this war. Over the following 3 days, the surviving consortium ships limped away from Earth one by one. Their crews would carry stories back to the galaxy that would change everything. Humanity, the primitive species that could barely reach their own moon, had just defeated the mightiest fleet in known space, using forces that even the most advanced civilizations barely understood. 6 months later, Dr. Lee Hanna stood in her underground control room watching displays that showed the space around Earth. Instead of warships, the screens now showed peaceful trading vessels from dozens of different worlds, representatives from the hegemony, the crystalline collective, and even the feared void merchants waited patiently in orbit for permission to approach. The Tau Ceti delegation is requesting a meeting about gravitational technology exchanges, reported Dr. Nam So-ra from her station. They are offering their most advanced medical techniques in return for basic lessons in space-time manipulation. Tell them we will consider it, Lee replied, but make it clear that we share knowledge only with those who come in peace. Captain Oh-jun walked into the control room carrying a cup of coffee and looking relaxed for the first time in months. His spacecraft hung in the orbital docking station above, no longer needed for combat but still ready if threats appeared. The consortium sent another message, he said, settling into a chair beside Lee's workstation. Their new ambassador wants to discuss a formal peace treaty. They are calling it a mutual non-aggression pact between equals. Lee smiled at those words. 6 months ago, the consortium had demanded Earth's surrender. Now they spoke of equality and mutual respect. Fear had taught them manners that diplomacy never could. President Kim appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from his office in the capital. Behind him, through the windows, people walked freely in the streets without looking up at the sky in terror. Children played in parks where alien ships had once cast threatening shadows. My fellow citizens of Earth, Kim said, today marks 6 months since the galaxy learned that humanity will not bow to tyrants. We have received requests for friendship from 47 different worlds, trade agreements that will bring us new medicines, new technologies, and new knowledge. But we will never forget the lesson we taught the universe: peace through strength, respect through determination. In her private office, Dr. Lee read reports from monitoring stations around the solar system. The gravitational array remained active but at minimal power, ready to defend Earth if needed but no longer twisting space into impossible shapes. The ancient machines hummed quietly in their underground chambers, waiting patiently as they had for millions of years. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Lee opened the communication to find Captain O looking concerned. Doctor, our deep space sensors are picking up something unusual, far beyond the outer planets, moving slowly toward the inner system. Lee brought up the sensor display on her screen. At first she saw nothing unusual, just the normal patterns of radiation and cosmic debris. Then she noticed it, a signal so faint it was barely detectable, but definitely artificial. Something was out there, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. How long since we first activated the gravitational array at full power? She asked. 6 months and 3 days, O replied. Why do you ask? Lee felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. The signal was getting stronger, which meant whatever was sending it was getting closer. She thought about the ancient machinery buried beneath Earth, technology left by a civilization that had vanished millions of years ago. What if they had not simply disappeared? What if they had been waiting? Captain, I want you to prepare your ship for deep space reconnaissance, she said, her voice steady despite her growing concern. We may have awakened something that has been sleeping since long before humans existed. The war with the consortium was over, but Earth's real test was just beginning. In the darkness between stars, something ancient was stirring, drawn by humanity's use of forces that its builders had created. The galaxy was about to learn that some sleeping giants should never be disturbed. Through the communications array, Lee sent a coded message to President Kim. We have a new problem.